We're back to the front page of the Journal Times again, folks. Racine County lost an estimated 1,200 jobs last year, and we have the highest unemployment in the county, also the state. But what are we going to do, Alderman Marcus? You know, we lost 16,000 people since our peak, back when we were the third largest city in the whole state. We were only behind Milwaukee and Madison. Now Kenosha and Green Bay have both passed us up, getting up to our former peak, a little over 90,000 people, and we're down to 79,000 people. And merchants, particularly the commercial merchants, are really suffering from this. They could use another 16,000 people around here visiting the stores and buying things. You know, as a matter of fact, somebody recently pointed out to me, Porter's, who was like a landmark for us, they were established, what, 1849 or something? They made it through the Civil War, they made it through the Great Depression, but they haven't been able to make it through the recent City Hall administrations. I mean, it's time we start looking at regulations and taxes, and I'm not talking about just balancing the budget. That's all we've been pushing for, right? That's what you've been pushing for. We also, in the longer term, have to start looking at reducing taxes by about 20%, let alone just balancing them.
Yeah, I think when we look at unemployment numbers, first off, we have to recognize that it's more complex than just what the city does. There's obviously a national economic environment, there's a state economic environment, and then there's the county and city. We certainly play our role in it, and I don't for a moment abdicate our responsibilities. I think there are numerous things that we can do. My concern is we had the Racine County Economic Development Corporation do a presentation at a committee of the whole meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they identified the same numbers that this article talks about, that the City of Racine's unemployment rate dropped from 12.8 to 11.2, which sounds really good, except that those numbers really, I think, are pretty meaningless. The reason why they're meaningless is that would tell you, as Alderman Wisniewski made a point at that meeting, well, I'm very pleased to hear that 88% of those people who want jobs can get them here. Well, that's not really the case. The fact that we're reporting an unemployment rate of 11.2%, while still way higher than we should hope for, is actually substantially underreported. When someone is unemployed and remains unemployed beyond their ability to collect benefits, we don't count them anymore. And when I pointed that out to the RCEDC people who were at that meeting, they commented that that number does not include those long-term unemployed who aren't getting benefits anymore. This economic downturn has been going on so long that we have many people, certainly in the 2nd District, who just don't have jobs anymore. And they want jobs. So to suggest that 88% of the people who wanted jobs have them is simply just disingenuous. The fact is that number is probably much closer to the 25 or 26% that the federal government reports as I believe they call it a U classification under the census reports, and 26% is a lot closer. I believe that more accurately represents what's going on. I believe that about 1 out of every 4 people who wants a job doesn't have one, and that's simply way too high. And we'll pay for that. We'll pay for that in terms of incarcerations at approximately $32,000 per person per year in jail. And we'll pay for it in having to have a 3rd floor on the jail that we spent, what, $26 or $28 million for a few years ago, when we really need to address some really fundamental issues. First and foremost, and I believe the school district is beginning to address this, is the issue of what's going on with our school system. My property value is directly related to the value of an education, a public education, in the city of Racine. And they've recently had a speaker who said, who pointed out that we have a system nationally, not just in Racine, but nationally, where we basically have fixed the amount of time that our kids are in school, okay, 13 years including kindergarten, okay, and continued to increase what we need to teach them, okay, and disregarded the speed at which they learn, okay, and basically by doing so we have made quality the variable and time the fixed, when in fact what we really ought to be doing is saying quality is going to be the fixed variable, and the floating variable will be time. Similar to being in the Boy Scouts. I was an Eagle Scout, and there was no rate at which we had to earn merit badges. Okay? You earned merit badges as you earned them. You met a certain quality standard, and you got the merit badge. And then eventually you could move up from being a tenderfoot to a second class to a first class to Life, Star, and Eagle. Maybe that's the kind of direction that we need to be talking to our school district about in terms of ensuring that our kids are in fact prepared for an education. I believe that all of our kids can learn what they need to learn to have quality jobs, but maybe they can't do it in the same 12 years. Maybe some need a little more time. So we need to address an educational issue. From a standpoint of what goes on in the city, we need to get the city out of the real estate business and out of the development business. Owning things like the Southside Industrial Park, holding on to the Walker property, the old Point Blue property. We need to get those into private hands as quickly as we can. And then we need to try to encourage developers who are going to take advantage of the unique things that Racine has. We're no longer going to be the automotive machine shop that we once were, that carried us through the industrial age. But we have the finest lake shore on any Great Lake. We have high water quality. We have, we've done great things with being on this lake, except taking advantage of it. Why aren't we out encouraging developers to come in who will develop a hotel conference center, for example, at the old Walker site, maybe a water park, other things there that will be ecologically green, produce jobs for the people who live here, and even if they're entry-level jobs, you start out, and I started out at $1.86 an hour at Sears, and when you show up for that kind of a job, other employers, when they're looking to hire you after college, are saying, well, geez, if he was willing to show up for $1.86, for that job, he'll come to our job for more.
That means a lot, that's right.
And it gives you opportunities to move into supervision, to learn leadership. So you learn the discipline, you learn all those soft skills, plus the hard skills. Those are the kinds of things that we should be encouraging. And we aren't. Our regulations are too difficult. It takes too long to get through the process, and I want to take my hat off to Director O'Connell at the Department of City Development for proposing that we cut the access corridor review out, make it an administrative process. So instead of a group that meets once a month to review your design of your building and things of that sort, it now is a simple administrative review with an appeal to the Plan Commission, which meets twice a month. We believe it'll cut at least 3 weeks out of the approval process. That's the kind of thing I want to see from government. I want to see government getting out of the way of business expansion. And Director O'Connell took this up, and the Plan Commission unanimously approved it, and it was unanimously approved by the council. We need to find more things like that where we can cut red tape, cut regulation, cut approval processes, and get businesses up and running right away.
And I think that's the key thing is seeing that these businesses can get up and run right away, and see more jobs come in, and see some of those 16,000 people, if not all of them, get back here. Right. My only contention is we're going to have to watch it closely, just like you said, because we have to see the results. It's fine what O'Connell has presented. I agree with you at that. In fact, I was very pleased with it when I saw it myself. But at the same time, how effective is it going to be? Are we going to really get it to where all of a sudden we're seeing jobs come back? I mean, we've already seen what Class A liquor licenses does. It just the ordinance itself is restrictive. We've already lost 2 stores, and we lost another employee here recently that we talked about the little market on Washington Avenue. So we need to really start doing things in that regard, and let's see those vital statistics, the basic statistics start to change.
Yep. And this is just a start, I think. We really have to take a very hard look at government and see where we can get out of the way of businesses, whether it is getting out of this holding commercial property, which we're doing right now on several different large properties, including Washington and West, where we just shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be involved in this. This should have been turned over to private hands a long time ago. Government does not belong in the real estate development business.
It absolutely does not. And I'd like to go back to the days when I was riding around the city of Chicago, so I grew up in that area, with my dad, and he was in manufacturing. So we'd be driving around a lot of manufacturing stuff, and there'd be these big signs out of each plant, and they have whole lists of people, of jobs that were wanted inside. Stop on inside, we want these people. And as I got up into high school age, which is a period of about 3 or 4 years, about maybe 5 years at the most, I saw those lists get shorter and shorter and shorter until finally there were those 3 famous words, no help wanted. That's all they put on those signs. That had nothing to do with education, had nothing to do with, that was a thing that was just some type of economic impact, clamping down on American industry at that time. And I refuse to let anybody get away with saying, well, blame it on the Chinese. I'm sorry. We have our own game to play here. The fact that somebody wants to provide us with some nice services for virtually nothing does not have to hurt our standard of living, does not have to put us out of a job. We just have to be able to shift and change with that. So instead of cutting our own lawn, because somebody's going to come over and do it for free, we find time to do something else around the house and fix that up even better. So this to me is an opportunity, not a drag on the economy. And I agree with you. Let's look at all this and let's get these jobs back. I mean, we need those 16,000 people
We need
back.
those jobs.
All right. So we'll end up on that, and we'll come back with talking about city assessments.